Breaking news. Ukrainian drones have just struck deep inside Russian territory, targeting a train station that was considered vital for military logistics. Explosions rocked the site, fuel depots went up in flames, and supply lines were instantly paralyzed. What happened next left the entire world stunned. Hello my friends, welcome back to my videos. Today we're going to break down one of the most dramatic events of this war so far. Ukrainian drones striking a Russian train station is not just another news headline. It's a powerful signal of how modern warfare is changing. We'll look at the exterior damage, the interior chaos, the performance of the attack, safety issues, the unique selling points of drone warfare, the cost comparison, and finally, what this means for the future. Summary of the story before diving deeper. Let's summarize what actually happened. Reports confirm that Ukrainian drones carried out a precision strike on a Russian train station located hundreds of kilometers from the front lines. This particular station was not an ordinary civilian hub. It was being used as a military supply artery, transporting fuel, ammunition, and heavy equipment towards the battlefield. When the drone struck, massive explosions tore through the facility. Fire spread quickly, and several military transport trains were disabled. Russian emergency teams rushed to control the situation, but by then the damage was done. The strike disrupted train schedules, halted logistics, and sent shockwaves through Moscow's defense circles. Exterior from the outside, the aftermath was devastating. Satellite images and local footage showed thick black smoke billowing into the sky, visible from miles away. Rail lines were twisted and broken, wagons derailed, and flames consumed entire sections of the station. For ordinary Russians living nearby, it was a shocking sight. A place they thought was safe suddenly looked like a war zone. The exterior optics are incredibly important here. Ukraine managed to show the world, and more importantly Russia, that no place is too deep, too safe, or too protected. Even a heavily guarded logistical hub inside Russian territory was vulnerable. This exterior view gives Ukraine a psychological victory, while presenting Russia with a public embarrassment. Interior short. Inside the station, the scene was chaotic. Shattered glass, broken ceilings, and scattered debris covered the ground. Trains were stopped mid-journey, with passengers left in fear and confusion. Some carriages carrying military equipment were damaged, while fuel tankers exploded, leaving the interior walls charred black. Eyewitnesses described panic as sirens went off, and emergency workers struggled to restore order. For civilians inside, the sound of buzzing drones followed by sudden explosions was terrifying. Performance. Now let's analyze the performance of this strike. Ukrainian drones have once again shown their ability to travel long distances, penetrate Russian air defense systems, and strike with precision. This isn't just about technology, it's also about intelligence. Ukrainian forces carefully identified the train station's importance, planned the timing of the strike, and executed it flawlessly. The performance metrics here are clear. Accuracy. The drones hit key fuel depots and military wagons. Range. They traveled deep inside Russian territory, showing extended operational reach. Effectiveness. The strike halted a major logistical line, disrupting Russia's supply chain. For Russia, this raises tough questions about the performance of its own defense systems. Billions have been spent on anti-drone radars, missiles, and jammers, yet small and relatively cheap drones continue to bypass them. Safety features. When we look at safety, the contrast between civilian protection and military preparedness becomes evident. Russia failed to provide adequate safety measures for civilians traveling through or living near such a high-risk military hub. The lack of shelters, evacuation routes, and protective barriers meant that ordinary people were exposed to danger. On the Ukrainian side, the choice of drones instead of heavy missiles may have been a calculated decision to reduce collateral damage. Smaller warheads are less destructive to civilians, but still devastating against targeted infrastructure. In this sense, drones ironically add a kind of safety feature. They minimize unintended casualties compared to traditional bombings. Unique selling points. Drones are rewriting the rules of war, and this strike highlights their unique selling points. 1. Cost effectiveness. A drone may cost only a few $1,000s, but the damage inflicted is worth millions. 2. Stealth. They are small, hard to detect, and can evade traditional air defenses. 3. Flexibility. Drones can be used for reconnaissance, surveillance, and precision strikes. 4. Psychological impact. The buzzing sound of drones overhead creates fear and uncertainty, both among soldiers and civilians. For Ukraine, these features make drones an ideal weapon of choice in a conflict where resources are limited but the need for impact is high. For Russia, this creates a new nightmare. How do you defend against swarms of cheap, mobile, and unpredictable aerial threats? The price difference between attacker and defender is staggering. Ukraine likely spent a few $1,000s per drone, perhaps up to tens of thousands if it was a long-range custom-made UAV. On the other hand, Russia now faces millions in damages. Destroyed trains and wagons filled with fuel and ammunition. Infrastructure damage to rail lines and platforms. Economic losses from halted logistics and disrupted passenger services. Reputational costs on the global stage. This asymmetry is one of the biggest lessons of drone warfare. How inexpensive weapons can inflict disproportionate costs on a larger, wealthier adversary. Conclusion. So what does all of this mean? The Ukrainian drone strike on a Russian train station is not just another military episode. It's a clear sign of the shifting nature of modern warfare. Ukraine has shown resilience, creativity, and the ability to strike deep into enemy territory. Russia, meanwhile, is left scrambling to defend infrastructure it once thought was untouchable. This strike has shaken Russia's confidence in its homeland security, proved the effectiveness of drones as a low-cost, high-impact weapon, exposed the fragility of Russia's logistical backbone, boosted Ukraine's morale and bargaining power in the international arena. The world will now watch closely. Will Russia increase its air defenses, retaliate more aggressively, or even escalate the war in desperation? Or will Ukraine continue to leverage drones as a strategic equalizer, keeping the pressure on until the balance shifts further in their favor? One thing is certain. The train station strike is not just about physical destruction. It's about psychological dominance, strategic messaging, and the future of how wars will be fought. So my friends, this was today's deep dive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates and analysis only on Future X.